So we started looking at Laplace transform. The way we arrived at Laplace transform was by considering LTI system and giving to an LTI system a special input. So let me just recollect what we said about it. So if you consider an LTI system with an impulse response, say h of t characterizes that system. It is basically the response of the system to a impulse input, unit impulse input. So to this system, if you give a special input, that is a into e raised to st, then all that the system will do, an LTI system will do to this particular input is to change its amplitude. Here the amplitude is a, so that will be changed to some other amplitude, and then change its phase by some amount. Or in other words, we can say that it will be multiplied with a complex number which we write as h of s. Okay, it will be multiplied. The input will be just multiplied with a complex number. Okay, so where h of s is a complex number. So complex number you can express in two different ways. One is the rectangular form, the other is the polar form. Okay, so h of s is actually the complex number. If I express it in polar form, the magnitude of h of s multiplying with the phase, okay, that is the angle of h of s. Okay, so this way you can write. So what is the effect of multiplying the complex number to an exponential input can be understood if you write it in polar form as so this is our x of t, the input, and this is what we call as our y of t. So therefore our y of t is basically amplitude. Initially it was a, now it will be changed to a into h of s modulus. Okay, so that is a change in the amplitude, and then you will also have change in the phase. So phase s is basically sigma. S is basically sigma plus j omega. It has a real part and an imaginary part. So e raised to sigma t, so that is a real part, and then it also has an imaginary part plus j into omega t plus, now there will be an angle h of s coming. So this is what the effect of giving a special input, that is the exponential input is a special input to an LTI system. All that the system will do is change its amplitude. Okay, so this is the new amplitude. Okay, the initial amplitude was this a, but final amplitude is this, and the new phase is this. Initial phase was j omega t, and phase is 0. Okay, j omega t plus 0, but now along with j omega t we have an additional factor which is because of the multiplication with a complex number h of s. Okay, so this is what we have seen. And then what is this h of s? H of s is basically the Laplace transform of h of t, which is the impulse response, where h of s is given as integral, okay, t going from minus infinity to plus infinity, h of t into e raised to minus st dt. Okay, so this is the time integral. We are integrating over the time. H of t is the impulse response. It is a function of time, and we are multiplying it with some quantity, and there is a name for this quantity. Whenever we integrate, we are multiplying with a quantity which is a function of both the original variable and a new variable. Okay, So that quantity is what is called as the kernel. Okay? That is a very generic term. So you can have different kinds of transforms if you multiply it with the different kinds of kernel. So this, if this is the kernel, e raised to minus t is the kernel, then this integration is basically called the Laplace transform. Okay, so this is basically the Laplace transform of h of t. Okay, so h of s is basically the Laplace transform of h of s. And how do we find Laplace transform? Integrate from minus infinity to plus infinity h of t after multiplying it with a kernel, and the kernel is e raised to minus st. So this is what we have seen, and then we have started doing examples of Laplace transform. The very first thing we saw is that the Laplace transform of delta of t, that is one of the simplest, you can immediately find out, is equal to integral from t going from minus infinity to plus infinity delta of t, multiplying it with the kernel e raised to minus st dt. So this, by using the sampling property of the impulse function, we can immediately say that this is equal to 1. So that was number 1. And number 2, which we have seen, is Laplace transform of e raised to minus at u of t, a one-sided exponentially decaying function. So this also we have solved, and there was a very important thing that I mentioned. Whenever we solve in general Laplace transform problems, okay, always you need to specify along with the answer what is the region of convergence. So here if you look at, you can write this as e raised to minus at u of t into the kernel e raised to minus st dt. So now, using the definition of u of t, you can change the limits from 0 to plus infinity, and then you can write this as minus a plus s t dt. Okay, so then if you integrate it, e raised to minus a plus s t divided by minus a plus s, and then we need to apply the limit, and the limit is from 0 to infinity. So when you apply the limit, the upper limit, if it has to become 0, there is a condition. Okay, so if I have to write it as 0 minus 1 divided by s plus a, or minus s plus a, that is equal to 1 by s plus a. If I have to write this way, only if the real part of a plus s, if it is positive, okay, if it is greater than 0, or you can say the same condition as a is already real, so you can write it as a plus real part of s greater than 0, or you can say real part of s should be greater than minus a. So this condition is restricting basically the values which s can have, or the real part of s can have, and this condition is called the region of convergence, or ROC. So whenever we say the Laplace transform of e raised to minus at u of t is equal to 1 by s plus a, then you have to, along with that, you have to specify ROC is real part of s greater than minus a. If you don't specify this part, the answer is not complete. You will not, you are not basically saying the complete information. Okay, so now let's move to another problem, okay, which is not really different. So let's say problem number 3. So let's take another function x of t. Okay, let me write it as a Laplace transform of minus e raised to minus e raised to minus at u of minus t. Okay, Laplace transform of minus e raised to minus at. First thing is that you need to know how this function look like. Okay, so that is that can be seen very easily if you plot this function. Okay, so if I plot this function, how does it look like? Okay, this is our t, and u of minus t is basically the flipped version of. Okay, so this is u of minus t. This is u of minus t. U of minus t. Okay, so u of minus t is now multiplied. It is equal to 1. It is equal to 1 for negative values of time, because u of t is equal to 1 for positive values of time. So after time reversal operation, you will have u of minus t equal to 1 for negative values of time, from 0 to all negative values, from to minus infinity. It is 1. And then we have e raised to minus at. So e raised to minus at, if you plot, it will be, okay, so let me plot e raised to minus at. Okay, so e raised to minus at is a function. If I plot, it will be like this. Okay, this we have seen also earlier. Okay, so it grows to the left side, decays to the right side. So this is our e raised to minus at. Okay, now what is happening is that you are multiplying these two functions. Okay, so what will happen? The right side will go to 0, only left side will remain. Now after that, we are putting a negative sign, that is for the amplitude. So that means whatever is on the top side above the time axis will come below the time axis. So finally the plot of this function, okay, so will look like this. So this is our required function, minus e raised to minus at u of minus t, and to the positive side it is 0. Okay, 0 here, and then it goes to minus 1, and then it exponentially rises. So this is a function. It is also a one-sided function, but it takes non-zero values only for negative values of time. So by plotting it, you can see how the function look like. Now coming to the evaluation of Laplace transform, we need to apply the formula. Okay, so Laplace transform of e raised to minus, okay, minus e raised to minus at u of minus t is basically equal to t going from minus infinity to plus infinity. So you substitute e raised to minus at, whatever function is at hand, okay, and then multiply it with the kernel. E raised to minus st is the kernel, and then dt. This is the operation that you have to perform. Okay, so now if you look at here, which side the limit will change by applying the definition of u of minus t. It is 0 for positive values of time, and therefore you can write this limit from t equal to minus infinity to 0, because for positive values of time u of minus t is 0. And I can take this minus sign outside, and I can put e raised to minus at here, and I can write it as a plus s t dt. Now if I want to absorb this minus sign into the integral by changing its limits, okay, so I can do that. That is from 0 to minus infinity. Okay, I can write like this: e raised to s plus a with a minus sign t dt. So this way I can write. Now if I integrate this, what is going to happen? This is basically e raised to minus s plus a t divided by minus s plus a with the limit from 0 to infinity. Now again we have a similar situation as in the previous problem. So if you put the upper limit, okay, that is t equal to infinity, if at all we want this result, okay, so t is okay, so the upper limit is minus infinity. So when I put minus infinity, if this term has to converge, or in other words, after applying the limits, if you want to get a finite answer, then it is only possible if when I put t equal to minus infinity, the term goes to 0. Otherwise it is not possible, because if you look at e raised to minus s plus a t, okay, so I put the value of s as sigma plus j omega, so this is minus sigma plus a t, then into e raised to minus j omega t. As far as this term is considered, it has no change in its amplitude. Its amplitude is always 1. Okay, the magnitude of this term is always 1. Whether it is minus infinity, plus infinity, whatever you put for t, it is always 1. So there is no way this term goes to 0. So the only way making the total thing go to 0 is by focusing on this particular term, which has the real exponent. Okay, sigma is real and a is real. So when I put t equal to minus infinity, so this term, if at all it has to go to 0, then the condition is that the coefficient of t, okay, so when you put t equal to minus infinity, that minus will cancel with the already existing minus in the exponent, and therefore if this has to go to 0, so this term will go to 0 when what? When t is equal to minus infinity, if and only if sigma plus a is less than 0. That will be the condition. Okay, if sigma plus a is positive, what is happening? Minus and minus, that is going to become plus, and then it is going to be e raised to plus infinity, which is humongous, infinity basically. It is a huge infinity. But if sigma plus a is negative, okay, then we have we can say that this term will go to 0. So therefore the condition for convergence is that the upper limit, the term corresponding upper limit, should go to 0. So that means 0 minus 1 divided by s plus a with a minus sign, or this is equal to 1 by s plus a. Now what is the ROC? ROC is basically sigma plus a should be less than 0, or in other words, real part of s is sigma plus a should be less than 0, or I can say real part of s should be greater than should be less than minus a. Okay. Now if you compare with the previous problem, there also we got 1 plus s plus a. Okay, the answer was 1 plus s plus a. It was completely a different function, and the difference comes with the ROC. So ROC for the previous question was real part of s greater than a. Okay, so last class I showed you the s-plane. If I draw the s-plane, then a is positive number, so your minus a is somewhere here. So the ROC I said that it is this region. Okay, this is the region where if you s take any of the value in this region, that is to the right of s is equal to minus a line. So this is j omega, and this is sigma axis, this is the s-plane. So the ROC is here for problem 2. Now what is the ROC for problem 3? So again we can draw the s-plane. Okay, so this is our s-plane, again this is our j omega axis, this is our sigma axis, and then our minus a is again here. And then if you look at the ROC, it is saying real part of s less than minus a. Okay, so the difference is that here the ROC is here. Okay, the shaded region is our ROC. Okay, so this is the ROC for problem 3. So okay, both have same answer. Okay, 1 by s plus a, both have same answer but different ROC. Okay, so that is why I am emphasizing again and again that when you find the Laplace transform, it is essential that you should state the ROC along with the answer. Otherwise the answer is not complete, because if you are asked to find out what function gave you the Laplace transform 1 by s plus a, you cannot find it out without also stating the ROC, because there are two possibilities for function which can give which can give the Laplace transform 1 by s plus a. Okay, so which function gives you Laplace transform 1 by s plus a? Okay, is an incomplete question. You also have to state function, okay, the Laplace transform is 1 by s plus a, and the ROC is the region, real part of s greater than say minus 1. Okay, if it is greater than minus 1, then you know the function is e raised to minus at u of t. Okay, so let me rewrite it. Laplace transform of x of t. So I will write it as x of s. Okay, it is some function. Usually whatever is the variable that we use, its capital version is used to signify the new function which you get after Laplace transform. Now you can also talk about the inverse Laplace transform. Okay, that means finding out the function which is giving you Laplace transform x of t. So this will be equal to x of t. But if you have to do this, you also have to specify along with the x of s what is the ROC. If ROC is also given, then you can find it. Otherwise there will be multiple answers which are all correct. For example, find Laplace transform inverse of 1 by s plus 2. If it is given, then there are two chances. Okay, there are two possibilities. Either one possibility is that the function is e raised to minus 2t u of t. So this is one possibility, and the other possibility is that minus e raised to minus 2t minus e raised to minus 2t u of minus t. Okay, so both of this these are two different functions. Okay, so if the ROC was mentioned, we can pick out which was the actual function that gave rise to this particular Laplace transform. Okay, so when you find the Laplace transform, this function also we get it, but with a ROC. So here for this function, if the ROC was given as real part of s greater than minus 2, then it is this function. But if suppose the ROC was given as real part of s less than minus 2, then you have to choose this function. So ROC is very important component that has to be specified along with the Laplace transform. Okay, so that's the inverse. Okay, so we will have to do many more problems and then acquainted with different kinds of functions and their Laplace transform, and gradually we need to make a table of all the standard functions. So I gave you two functions so far. Now let me draw another function, problem 3 or problem 4. Okay, so this is basically if I take the sum of the 2 and 3, okay, the problem 2 and 3. So let's say x of t is equal to e raised to say minus e raised to minus 80 u of minus t, okay, plus, so this was our problem 3, and then along with that I am adding problem 2, which is e raised to minus 80 u of t. Okay, so sum of the above two problem. If I do this, what is the Laplace transform of this? So first of all, we need to have the picture of this particular view. Okay, so let me change it slightly. Okay, so let me change. Okay, so it's not exactly same. I want to change here the sign to be plus. Okay, so that will be a change. So it is not exactly 2 plus 3. I am taking plus sign for e raised to, instead of e raised to minus 80, I am taking e raised to plus 80 u of minus t. Everything else is remaining same. So this is exactly the second problem. Okay, so this is from problem 2. So this is a modification of problem 3. Okay, only modification is that I changed the sign of the exponent, modified version of problem 3. Okay, so what is the question? The question is find the Laplace transform of x of t. So that is equal to, so it's an integration. Okay, t going from minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, so maybe it is also a good idea to plot this function before we proceed mathematical evaluation. So the right hand should be same. So it is from 1 it exponentially decays. So that is our e raised to minus 80 u of t part. And then if you consider the first part, it is basically e raised to 80. E raised to 80 is what? E raised to 80 is basically a function which e raised to 80 is basically a function which grow like this. It will go like this. Okay, so this is your e raised to 80. Okay, now when it is multiplied with minus u of minus t, so this will be multiplied and flipped. So what will you get? You will get something like this. Okay, you will get something like this. Okay, so this is our minus e raised to plus 80 u of minus t. So now you can see the function. Okay, so the function is changing from minus 1 to plus 1. Okay, at t equal to 0. So this is our t, and then in the negative side it is decaying, but with the negative values, and in the positive side it is decaying with the positive values. The previous function, what we saw is that it is growing. It was growing function. That was because minus 8. Okay, so if I just compare it with the previous function, okay, so it was a growing function to the negative values of time, but now it is decaying function. That is the effect of changing from e raised to minus 80 to e raised to plus 80. Hope it is clear now. So now let's apply. So this is the function that is at hand. So we can substitute whatever is our function, e raised to plus 80 u of minus t, then plus e raised to minus 80 u of t. So this is our function multiplied with the kernel e raised to minus st and then dt. So that's the formula. So we are just using directly the formula, and this thing I can, since it is an integral of sum is basically sum of the integral. So I can split it into two integrals, and if I split it, so first integral is from minus infinity to plus infinity, and it has a minus sign. You can put it here, e raised to plus at u of minus t into e raised to minus st dt. That is the first term, plus integral t is from minus infinity to plus infinity, then what we have, e raised to minus at u of t into e raised to minus st dt. Okay, so this is what we get. Now all right, so if I now proceed, so this function, if I substitute the definition of u raised to u of minus t, so u of minus t is what? It is equal to 1 for negative values of time. So only for negative values of time you need to integrate, otherwise it is 0. So this is basically minus integral t going from minus infinity to 0 e raised to minus of s minus a t dt. Okay, so plus integral t going from, and if you substitute the definition of u of t, then what happens? So this is basically so this one is basically 1 for positive values of time. So we can start the integration from 0 and go to plus infinity and write it as e raised to minus of s plus a t dt. Okay, so this is what we need to integrate. Okay, so now, so what is the answer here? If you look at the first function, so if we can integrate this function, no issue. So this is basically e raised to minus s minus a t divided by s minus a with limits. So I can, if I want, I can absorb as before this minus sign also. Okay, so there is a minus sign here also. Okay, so this is from minus infinity to 0. Okay, and then this one is e raised to, this one we have already done, only this part is not familiar to us. So minus s plus a t divided by minus s plus a, and then limit from 0 to plus infinity. Okay, so now comes the problems of convergence. Okay, so if you look at this particular function, when I put so I can just cancel this minus signs. Okay, this minus and this minus should cancel, and then so if I look t equal to 0, if I put, that will be 1, and when I put t equal to minus infinity, what happens? If I put t equal to minus infinity, then minus and this minus will cancel, so this will converge. Okay, so the first function will converge, that will converge. The condition is that real part of s minus a should be negative. Okay, After putting t equal to minus infinity, that minus of minus infinity will cancel with already existing sign, minus sign there, and then s minus a real part will decide whether it will converge or not. Okay, so if the real part is negative, then it will converge. What about here? This we have already seen earlier. Here for the convergence, here the real part of s should be greater than minus a. So that we already know from the previous problem. This is a problem. Second part is basically a problem that we have already done. The first part is basically a modified version of problem 3. So we need to look at it more clearly. So that is real part of s. Okay, real part of s. If I take a, so you can say a less than 0, or you can say real part of s less than if I take minus a to the other side, you can say it is less than a. So this is the condition required for the convergence of the first part, and this one is the condition required for the convergence of the second part. And now the total function is the sum of these two functions. Okay, so the Laplace transform of the sum of two functions, if it has to exist, then it should satisfy both conditions for convergence. So that is something that you need to look at very carefully. So let me show this on the S-plane. Okay, so if I draw the S-plane, this is my j omega axis, and this is my sigma axis, and this is my S-plane. And what it says is the first function will, so let's say that this is a and this is minus a. So according to the condition for one of the condition was the region of convergence should be like this. Okay, so this is one of the condition, and the second condition was it should be less than a. Okay, so let me show you again those conditions. Okay, so one of the condition is real part of s less than a, the other is real part of s greater than minus a. Okay, so I have put a and minus a. So what I have shown right now is basically corresponding to, so this shading corresponds to real part of s greater than minus a. That was one of the condition. Now let me plot the other condition. The other condition is basically real part of s less than a. Okay, so this is real part of, so this is the vertical line corresponding to real part of s equal to a. So if I put okay, so this is this shaded portion. So that is basically telling real part of s less than a. Okay, now both are satisfied in a particular region. Okay, so the condition for both are satisfied in some region. So that is this region, the overlapping region. Okay, so this overlapping region, both of this requirement are, it is basically a region where real part of s is greater than minus a as well as real part of s is less than a. So there is a region where s can take value so that the Laplace transform can exist for the sum of the total function. Okay, so therefore now going back to it, Laplace transform of let me write the function e raised to at u of minus t plus e raised to minus at u of t is equal to. So what will be the result? The first part, the result, if I apply the limit and make the one of the limit go to 0, the upper limit is basically, if I put 0, it is 1 by s minus a is equal to 1 by s minus a, then plus 1 by s plus a, okay, which is something that we have already found out earlier. So this is going to be the result, okay, that we get for this particular function. And what is the ROC? Now what is the ROC? The ROC is basically the real part of s should lie between a and minus a. So this is our new ROC, the green shaded or highlighted portion. Okay, so the Laplace transform of this particular function is actually given as this. Okay, now if you want, you can simplify this a little more. So you can take the LCM and you can write. So if I take the LCM, this will be s plus a, then plus s minus a divided by s square minus a square. Okay, and this a will cancel, and what you get is so this you will get it as 2s by s square minus a square. So that will be the Laplace transform. Okay, so I hope it is clear. Okay, let's go to another function. Problem, say, what is the problem? Number 5. Okay, so next function is find the Laplace transform of u of t. Okay, in fact, this is a special case of problem number 2, where a is equal to 0. Okay, so you can write it like this. So that is Laplace transform of e raised to minus at u of t, where a equal to 0, and so that is equal to 1 by s plus a, where a equal to 0. So that is 1 by s. And what is the ROC? ROC was real part of s, real part of s greater than minus a. Okay, but here a is 0, so you can say that ROC is maybe I'll write down. So ROC is real part of s greater than 0, because a is 0, so therefore we can write like this. Okay, so that is a special case of the earlier problem. Okay, another problem that we will do, 6. Find the Laplace transform of t into u of t. Again, we apply the formula, t going from minus infinity to plus infinity. Now there is a multiplication with the t to the u of t, multiply with the kernel. So this is our function, it is multiplied with the kernel, and then we are integrating. And using the property of u of t, t of t is basically the ramp function, which we have seen earlier, unit ramp function. So it is 0 for negative values of time, and therefore you can say it is integration t going from 0 to infinity, t into e raised to minus st dt. So whenever we see it like this is the integral of two functions. You can always use integration by parts, but always take the first function something that will have finite number of derivatives. Okay, so t has only one derivative. After one derivative it becomes 0. Second derivative is going to become 0. Okay, first derivative is going to become 1, second derivative is going to become 0. So you would take t as the first function and e raised to minus st as the second function, and then perform integration by parts. So that will give you t into e raised to minus st by minus s, then put the limit 0 to infinity minus then integral of, again t is equal to 0 to infinity, derivative of t is 1, okay, and then e raised to minus st by minus s into dt. Okay. Okay, so if I put t equal to infinity, which of this will dominate? E raised to minus st will dominate than t, because it has more higher powers of t in the definition of it. So it will make it to 0 at the upper limit, and for lower limit e raised to st is minus st is 1, and t will make it 0. So it is basically first term doesn't contribute, it is 0. And then if you look at the second term, the minus signs will cancel. So I can write it as 1 by s e raised to minus st from 0 to 1. Okay, so which is equal to, so if I put so this is infinity. So upper limit is going to be okay, I made a mistake. So let me redo this. So 1 by s, and there is an integral also, right? So I have to perform one more integration. So integral of e raised to minus st is that is e raised to minus st by minus s, and then I have to put the limit 0 to infinity. So that is minus 1 by s square, and then ROC, if I take it as greater than 0, real part of s greater than 0, then I can put it as 0 for upper limit, and then lower limit is 1. So this is equal to 1 by s square. So this is the Laplace transform of ramp function with ROC, which is again real part of s greater than 0. Okay. Okay, so now we can generalize this to a higher power of t, that is Laplace transform of t raised to n u of t. T raised to n u of t. Okay, so again the problem is similar. Apply the definition, and when you apply the definition, the integration limit is from 0 to infinity, t raised to n e raised to minus st dt. Apply integration by parts n times. Okay, apply the integration by part n time. All the time the first limit is going to become 0, for the same reason as we saw for n equal to 1 in the previous problem. Okay, upper limit is 0 because e raised to minus st is 0 when t equal to infinity, and it is 0 because of t going to 0 at lower limit. So I will not write that. Then what else will come? After the first integration by part, what I am going to get is basically 1 by s integral of okay, so there is also when you take the derivative, you will have n coming out. Okay, so let me do it by showing few steps. Okay, so integration by part formula, I don't need the first part because that is 0. The second part is minus, so because of the division by minus s, that will cancel, and then derivative of t raised to n is n into t raised to n minus 1. So this will be n by s integral 0 to infinity t raised to n minus 1 e raised to minus st dt. So this is how we will get after one integration by part. Now if you look at except for the factor n by s, if you look at this first term and the second term, okay, LHS and RHS, you can see only difference is that instead of n you have n minus 1. So you can continue this. So if I do it one more time, it will become n into n minus 1 by s square integral 0 to infinity t raised to n minus 2 e raised to minus st dt. So this is the only thing that will happen. Okay, there will be n into n minus 1 into, so these coefficients will come out because of the derivative operation, and then s will be coming in the denominator each time you do integration by parts. So you do this continuously until it become this t raised to n minus n, it become t raised to n minus n. So when it become t raised to n minus n, so that is t raised to 0, so you will have n into n minus 1 etc. into 2 into 1, and here similarly you will have s raised to n, you will have s raised to n, and then integral 0 to infinity, this will be t raised to 0, which will be 1, and e raised to minus st dt. Okay, so that is what we will get. So now the last integration if you perform, so if you look at the numerator is basically n factorial. If you perform one more integration, so this is s raised to n, and then you will have e raised to minus st by minus s with the limit 0 to infinity. So this is equal to, so if I combine this s, I will get basically n factorial by s raised to n plus 1, and then upper limit is 0, lower limit is 0, so this minus 1 will cancel, and that is going to be 1. So this is the answer, n factorial by s raised to n plus 1. So that is the result. Okay, so now okay, let's do one more problem and then we will take a break. So what if we had so problem number 8, x of t is equal to e raised to or let me put t into e raised to say minus at u of t. What is going to be this? Okay, so we mean what is the Laplace transform of this? Find Laplace transform of x of t. Find the Laplace transform of x of t. So so here what I am going to do is, like we know Laplace transform of t u of t, this we have found out, is equal to 1 by s square. So this we have found out. Laplace transform of t u of t we have found out. Okay, so what is that? That means integral from minus infinity to plus infinity t u of t into e raised to minus st dt is equal to 1 by s square. So this we have already done this integration and we got this value. Now, so into this problem, what we are putting is that we are bringing in an additional factor, and that is we are bringing in, therefore Laplace transform of t into e raised to minus at u of t is equal to, okay, so if I apply the definition, it is t into e raised to minus at u of t into e raised to minus st dt. Okay, again, so I have to specify this ROC. ROC is real part of s greater than 0. So that is the, so now this one I will rewrite as minus infinity to plus infinity t u of t, okay, into e raised to, I will combine e raised to minus at with the e raised to minus s and write it as s plus a into t at. Okay, now if I compare the above equation, that is equation 1, this one, and this equation 2, okay, you can write 2 as 1 by s is replaced with s plus a. That's the only difference, right? So if you look at here, this LHS, it is t u of t e raised to minus st dt. Here it is t u of t e raised to minus of s plus a into t dt. So what I can do is that I can replace the RHS with the s plus a whole square, and I should do the same for ROC also. ROC is now real part of s plus a greater than 0, or I should write real part of s greater than minus 0. So that is the answer. Okay, so the Laplace transform of t into e raised to minus at. So if you know the Laplace transform of one function, that is t u of t, then multiplying it with the e raised to minus at will only result in changing the Laplace transform, where s is replaced with s plus a, and both in the expression as well as in the ROC. Okay, so here we will take a break and we'll come back after exactly 5 minutes.
Sir.
Yeah.
So what is the reason, sir, that we are including unit step function in every question?